in 1997. Had some pretty severe injuries. My brain shut down my sympathetic nerve to my right side. One of the things I was really worried about was, when can I go back to work? Can I go back to work? And what is going to happen with me financially?
When we're dealing with defective product injuries and people who are calling in because they've suffered an injury and they believe it's because that product was defective, they're looking for answers. Depending on the nature and extent of the injury, they're obviously in pain, they're stressed, they're emotional, and they want answers. And can you help me with this? And how do we know, or how can we find out if this particular product was defective, and if that defect had something to do with my injury, my daughter's injury, my son's injury? The first thing that we do at our firm when we are talking with that injured person who's been involved in an accident is to try to lower their stress level. And you just have to let that person talk to you. You have to let them know first that you're there to listen, that you're there to understand. And then we talk about, okay, here is our plan. Here is how we're going to get you back to where you need to be. Here's how we're going to make sure you are reasonably compensated for everything you've gone through and everything you're still going to go through. And so we talk about that plan, we formulate that plan, then we put that plan in place and try to assure them that you can focus on doing what the doctor says, getting better, spending time with your family, getting back to work, and let us handle the rest of it. If you have a defective product injury or believe that you were injured as a result of a defective product, the biggest thing to remember is don't get rid of that product, okay? You got to preserve that product, because ultimately it's going to require testing, it's going to require an expert looking at it to determine if there was a defect, what that defect was, and is this defect something that directly caused the injury which you're complaining with. So the failure to preserve that evidence, and the most important piece of evidence in a defective product case, is that product itself that you're claiming was defective. It could be a defect in the manufacturing process itself. It could be a defect in design. This thing should have never been designed this way, and we need to go back and do research and see if they did testing, because this has a sharp point and this thing is for children ages 1 to 3, or it could be a defect in warning or lack thereof. So preserve the product, preserve any information, documents, warranties, instructions that came with the product, the box that the product came in, because those things are going to have to be examined and tested to determine whether or not you have a case.
So the first time I met Gene, it was an instant ease, which is unusual in that kind of situation. He was very caring, very straightforward about what was going to transpire, and he made that whole process so much easier than what I thought it was going to be.
In choosing a personal injury attorney, first of all, you need to have a personal injury attorney, not an attorney who occasionally does a personal injury case here and there. You need somebody who works exclusively, if not at least primarily, in that area of law. You need somebody who I believe is well respected, experienced obviously, but well respected in the community. Well respected not only by the judges and courthouse staff, but has the respect of insurance adjusters. You need to have an attorney who is not only experienced, but is willing to go to court and is willing to convey that, and who that insurance company knows this case, if it doesn't get resolved for a reasonable amount, will be tried by this attorney.
I would highly recommend Gene Vaught. He is an amazing person and an amazing, honest, caring attorney.